better than ever. From the plant that only flowers for a few days to the one that's flowers resemble a naked body and glance. But what about those you've never even heard of? Hard to imagine anything more unappealing than the stench of rotting flesh, particularly when the source of that stench is a flower. The Titan arum blooms for just 3 days and is the largest unbranched inflorescence plant in the world. Their flowers form into clusters that are arranged on a stem that consists of just one main branch.
I'm standing next to a Titan arum in full bloom.
The stem of the Titan arum can reach over 3 meters in height. It's quite the imposing sight. The flower is related to the cuckoo pint and calla lily, and all consist of groups of flowers wrapped by a leaf that looks like a large petal. One blooms in the New York Botanical Gardens, and another in the rainforest biome at the Eden Project in Cornwall. This incredible plant is native to western Sumatra in Indonesia, and is listed as one of the world's biggest flowering plants. It is also the smelliest. On its final journey to death, it releases a pungent odor, one that has visitors holding their noses in disgust. This is why the Titan arum is also known as the corpse flower. Many bizarre creations, but none may be quite so odd as the Naalatha flower. Also known as the Leothumbara flower, it is popular because its flowers are said to look like a naked woman. But whether the flower actually exists has been called into question. Upon conducting a search for pictures of the flower, you might find several versions. Some take the appearance of a complete woman from top to toe, while others look like a pear with a feminine face, and another version is very flower-like. The body is white, and the limbs and head are purple. This particular flower looks legitimate, so too does the pear version. But the intricate pale green woman with her hands carefully placed to protect her dignity has many believing the flower is a fake. In Hindi, its name means flower in the shape of a lady. If indeed it does exist, it is rumored to only bloom once every 2 decades, making it among one of the rarest flowers on the planet. It's also the most talked about over social media. The origin of the flower is shrouded in controversy, with many claiming it can be found in Sri Lanka, Thailand, and the Himalayan region of India. You would think that a flower this unusual would have drawn the attention of scientists across the globe, but this isn't the case. Considered one of the most wonderful and rare flowers in the world, where did the Naalatha come from? Or does it even exist? Puckered red lips, your eyes aren't deceiving you. These beautiful floral arrangements are called Psychotria alata, or simply hot lips. This tropical plant is found in rainforests across Central and South America, including Ecuador, Costa Rica, Panama, and Colombia. It is extremely sensitive and requires a specific climate to grow. Described as more of a shrub than a flower, the Psychotria alata is part of the Rubiaceae family. Members of this family are recognized by their unusual leaves rather than their flowers. Yes, the luscious red lips that you see on this plant are actually its leaves. The flowers aren't nearly as memorable as they sit inside the lips, hidden from view. And they're not just any lips either. These resemble those of Angelina Jolie and Mick Jagger, perfectly puckered and ready to kiss. No wonder they're nicknamed hot lips. Just like an attractive woman, these lips have seductive powers. But not to draw interest from a partner, they help the plant to attract pollinators like butterflies and hummingbirds. The plant also has special powers too. Its bark and leaves are great for treating skin rashes, coughs, and Mushipula, Venus flytrap. When you think about plants and what they eat, you might imagine they're herbivores, dining on plants and plants alone. Most of the time, you'd be right. But in the case of the Dionea mushipula, things are a little different. More commonly known as the Venus flytrap, This fascinating-looking plant is a meat-eater catching its unsuspecting prey in its leaves. Plant prefers to dine on insects and arachnids that it attracts using its sweet nectar. As they crawl along the leaves and come into contact with tiny hairs called trigger hairs, the trap prepares to close, snapping shut whilst they're inside. There's plenty of room in the trap, with adult plants typically measuring around 2.5 centimeters in length. Giant varieties can reach up to 5 centimeters. Without a doubt the most famous and fascinating carnivorous plant in the world, the Venus flytrap has a very limited native range, growing only in the coastal bogs of North and South Carolina. Unfortunately, habitat destruction has proved detrimental to the plant's survival, and it is believed to be extinct in several of its native countries. Ophrys epiphyra, bee orchid. Orchids are clearly a fascinating flower, with many different variations, some more obvious than others. The Ophrys epiphyra is definitely different and looks to play host to an oversized bee within its leaves. More commonly known as the bee orchid, this short and stocky flower has a rosette of leaves at ground level. 2 or 3 of these leaves grow up the stem to form a sheath protecting the flower inside. Petals shaped and colored like the body of a visiting bee are perched within large pink sepals. These sepals look like the bee's wings. It really is impressive, and the deception doesn't stop there. Not only does the flower have the brown and yellow markings of a bee, it is hairy to touch and emits a female bee scent. Its aim is to attract passing male bees in the hope that they will try to mate and thus aid in pollination. In Britain, however, these orchids self-pollinate, so the deception isn't really necessary. Often found in open grassland, disused quarries, sand dunes, roadsides, and even waste ground, the bee orchid sometimes behaves like a rampant weed. It is very common in mainland Britain, but numbers have declined in Ireland, where its habitat has been destroyed. As such, the bee orchid is a protected species in Northern Ireland. Parrot flower. This very rare and beautiful flower can't be found in just any old garden. It is believed to be more commonly found in various countries in Southeast Asia and the tropical forests of Thailand, where it is a protected species. Officially known as the impatient citacina, the flower is gorgeous and resembles a flying cockatoo. As such, it is often referred to as the parrot flower. The flower needs an extremely hot and wet climate to survive, and because export is forbidden, it cannot be enjoyed in a household garden. For those keen on coloring up their garden with this unique bloom, there are seeds for sale on websites. Unfortunately, they are counterfeit and not likely to create quite the same result. But hey, it might be an option worth exploring. Another issue that inhibits the plant's growth is the fact that very little is known about the pollinators. Some say that it's a small bat or bird, others believe that it may be wasps or large bees. And although the flower itself looks beautiful in pictures, don't be deceived. The bush it grows on is not. It is untidy and wide-leafed and can grow as tall as 6 feet. Not to mention, the flower only blooms for a few weeks around October to November, so it's hardly worth the hassle, really. Once harvested, they are also said to quickly lose their visual appeal. In the world, Rafflesia arnoldii. Many flowers across the globe are popular for their beauty and perfume. This bloom offers neither. Not only is it terribly unattractive, it smells awful. Listed as the world's largest bloom, the Rafflesia arnoldii is a rare flower found in the rainforests of Indonesia.
It consists of a fiber of tissues inside a vine.
You're not likely to trip over it, though, as it is huge. It can grow up to 3 feet wide and can weigh almost 25 pounds, depending on its age. The plant has no roots or stem, but it is parasitic, attaching itself to a host plant to obtain water and nutrients. When it blooms, it emits a repulsive odor, similar to that of rotting meat. It might sound disgusting, but the odor does have a purpose. It helps the Rafflesia arnoldii to attract insects that pollinate it. They obviously aren't all that fussy. The plant was discovered by Sir Stamford Raffles in 1818 when he described it as perhaps the largest and most magnificent flower in the world. He named it after himself and his companion, surgeon naturalist Dr. James Arnold. This jungle parasite is one of the rarest plants in the world. It's also on the verge of extinction. The Rafflesia arnoldii seeds are difficult to germinate, and its parasitic properties means it's at the mercy of its host plant. This is a dangerously cavalier approach to life, because without the vine, it's dead. Dracula simeon, monkey orchid. Brace yourself. The flowers on this plant are the stuff of nightmares. They've been compared to Count Dracula himself, but others suggest the slightly more pleasant option of a monkey face. I'm not convinced. If this is a monkey face, it's a pretty angry one with Dracula-like teeth.
This one here is one of my favorites, and very red, kind of a deep red, very fuzzy as well.
The Dracula simeon, or monkey orchid, certainly isn't the type of plant you would enjoy having in the garden unless it was chosen for Halloween value alone. This unusual orchid is sure to have a captive audience, but it's not the easiest flower to find. They are known to inhabit the southeastern Ecuadorian and Peruvian cloud forests from elevations between 1,000 and 2,000 meters. If you're keen on catching a glimpse of one in its natural habitat, you best prepare yourself for a bit of a hike. Intrepid collectors have made it a little easier for those keen on owning a monkey orchid themselves, with a number of specialty nurseries now offering the plant for sale. They are not recommended for beginner orchid growers, though, and will not thrive or bloom if their conditions are less than ideal. A fussy little character, you'll need to have a serious green thumb.